Yeah. Could you walk me through one of your specific videos? The one that comes to my mind is the video with the makeup. And I think it could be useful for other people to hear, and also for myself. What's your thought process behind making those videos, aside from the fact that it's it's about nuclear energy, but like how do you think about the structure of the video? Because I think that could be beneficial for anyone that's trying to create content that grabs people's attention. Like, how do you think about the lead in? Like, when do you hit people with facts? How do you think about the layout and the background and things like that?
Yeah, so when I had the idea of becoming a nuclear energy influencer, I use the word influencer for a reason. It's because I want to create influencer type of content, or what people see as influencer type of content, but to talk about nuclear energy. So of course, when you go and you look at influencer content, the most popular ones are makeup tutorials, or what I eat in a day, or exercise videos. And so from the beginning, I had this idea of using these themes to actually talk about nuclear energy. Of course, this was just an idea, and it's really hard to make that connection in your mind immediately. So my creative process is, I have the idea. I usually think about a word. In the case of the makeup tutorial, it was a little bit harder because the transition wasn't as smooth, but in the case of the uranium pellet video, which starts as a what I eat in a day video, I had in a previous video talked about how a nuclear reactor works, and I had used the uranium pellets being roughly the size of a gummy bear. So that in the what I eat in a day video, I saw a clear connection between gummy bears and uranium pellets. So I said, okay, I have to somehow talk about how I eat gummy bears in the day, and then I can make that transition to uranium pellets. And then I know a lot of people who are very into bodybuilding, and I know that community loves to eat gummy bears after working out.
Really?
Some of them will, oh yeah, it's a thing.
Is it the sugar?
Yeah, so apparently there's something about the type of sugar that replenishes your glucose levels after working out. And then they'll also sometimes drink raw egg whites, which is gross. But
I've done it a couple times before. I don't know how good it works, but it definitely feels funny on the way down.
Yeah. See, I wouldn't use that for any of my videos. But I saw that clear connection of like, oh, okay, so I can talk about how I wake up and I drink coffee, because that's actually true. I used to do intermittent fasting at the time. So I wake up, I drink coffee, work out, and then I'll say I eat gummy bears, which are roughly the size of uranium pellets. And then I merged into talking about nuclear energy. So it's all about finding these words that have certain connections and then using them as a merger. But I have to start the video with types of content that people gravitate towards. And those are, again, makeup tutorials, what I eat in a day, exercise videos. Those are all things that people, A, like to consume, but also B, expect of me as a female fashion model who has, a social media presence. So what has worked, the formula that has worked for me is just using that as a vehicle to grab people's attentions and then driving that attention towards something that I think is very important and very meaningful.
So you try to take one idea that could be an idea or a word that could be from the fashion world or model world, something like the gummy bears that has to do with working out, and also it's a very influencer type food. I've seen influencers with very colorful food, and then you try to tie that. And so you have the beginning in mind, which could be like the gummy bear from the modeling world, and then you have the end in mind, which is the uranium pellets, and then you try to figure out a way to bridge the gap between those two.
Yeah, so I usually have first I know which subjects I want to talk about. So I knew that I wanted to talk about when you shut down a nuclear power plant, it's replaced by fossil fuels. So I knew that. I also knew that I wanted to talk about the density of uranium. So I think about first the broader concept and the conversation I want to have. And then I try to think about words that are related to that concept and that would have something in common with this completely different world of, like you said, modeling or influencer type of content. And then I open a Google, if you want to go through like the boring creative process. I open a Google Doc. You do. It's, I mean, I guess everybody's creative process is the same, but I open a Google Doc and I start typing and I start playing around with the script. I usually hate it. And then I scratch it and then I write a different one. And that process goes on, honestly, 10, sometimes 20 times. And then I finally get something that's mildly interesting, but still is not there. So then I record myself and then I edit and then I start playing around with the images behind it and with the graphs. And that's usually also terrible. And I also hate it. So my mood when I create these videos is like, oh, this is a really good idea when it's just in my mind. And then I type it down and I'm like, oh my God, this is horrible.